tale. Voices rolling like a freight train wheel. Cornbread man, biscuit boy, talking live love and southern joy. Cornbread man, biscuit boy, raise your glass, make some noise. Gravy drips in the southern drawl. Stories thick like the cypress tall. Radio rebels riding wild and free, shouting truths like a storm at sea. Hey, hey, can you feel that beat? Boots on the floor, fire in the heat. Cornbread man, biscuit boy, talking live love and southern joy. Cornbread man, biscuit boy, raise your glass, make some noise. Tells the dirt roads, whiskey skies that cut through the night like fireflies. Laughter echoes through the pines, two voices cross them county lines.
And we are live, Wolf Nation, live on a Monday, and got here with Biscuit Boy. I'm the Cornbread Man, Dave and Paul LeBron, and we are excited. We have a very special guest tonight, and we want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, first of all. Hope you're having a great week. Be careful out there shopping. I went out today. It was a little crazy, but me and my granddaughter did some shopping. We got some things done. I got a little bit more tomorrow. So we've had a good day. It's been a good podcast day. And we're excited about this show, Wolf Nation, and it just encompasses so much. And we've really gotten into some authors and stories, and this is an old story. Paul, if you reach behind you in the mailbox, right behind you, open that. You might have to take the headphones off. Sorry.
I don't want to drag everything down with me.
Get that book out there. Look at what come in the mail. You can bring that up and show it on the screen. Just turn that around. You can use your camera there, and there you go. And this is a story that is amazing, and we have the author Mary Phagan Kean, and we are excited to have her, and we're going to bring her up right now. And hello,
there
Miss
she
Mary.
is.
How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you guys so much for having me on this evening.
Well,
I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's an honor, and we're honored to have you here, and we thank you so much. And hello, Barry, that's already in the chat. And Barry was really instrumental in helping me get contact info for you, as well as a couple other people. We started talking about this story again a couple of 3 weeks ago. I don't remember how it came up, but we were talking history. And I have been to the grave of Mary Phagan, and we're going to go back down. In fact, we're hoping to do that this week and lay flowers and stuff. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing journey that still goes on. So as we were talking before the show, and it's a great segue, you said to ask you, and I think it's great. How did you learn about, obviously, Mary Phagan and your Mary Phagan Kean? We can start there.
Okay, that's not a problem. I was Okay, Mary Phagan, Little Mary Phagan. I'll give a little background on her first. She was 13 years old when she was raped and murdered by Leo Frank at the National Pencil Company. So you need to be aware of that. He was, convicted and sentenced to hang. But the governor, on the last few days of his office, commuted his sentence from death by hanging to life in prison. And then he was taken out of the prison by a vigilance committee from the people in Marietta, very prominent, wealthy people in Marietta, that went and got him and lynched him. So that's the basics of the story. So my
Yeah.
dad was in the military, Air Force. So I'm a military brat, and I'm very proud of that. We lived in
Should be.
Japan and Hawaii, so I was out of the country. And when we came back to Daddy he retired and said that we would go back to Charleston Air Force Base. So we did. And I was in high school. Back in my day, I'm going to tell everybody I'm 71. So, I go back in my day all the time because we didn't have like a middle school. We had eighth grade, which I was in at the time, was part of high school, it was eighth through 12th grade. And I had a science teacher named Mr. Henry. And back in my day, they lined us up and they just looked at us and checked us off the list. When you said your name, they went through the line. He never looked at your face, he just checked his name off. Well, when I went through the line, I said, Mary Phagan. And he, he said, and he got his pencil and he pointed at my name and he said, he just stumbled just like that, honest to goodness, and said, there was a little girl in Atlanta in the 1920s that was murdered. Are you by
Yeah.
chance related to her? And I said, I didn't know. Then at recess, the boys told me I was reincarnated and I was dead. And I'm going to tell you, that's a very traumatic thing to be. And I'm 13. I found out about Little Mary Phagan at the age that she was murdered, which was 13.
Wow.
Wow.
So that was this is very significant because it tells about the Phagan family and how they've taken a vow of silence for 112 years until I came out in the 80s. So I'm upset because I'm dead and saying all these things to me. Go home crying. My dad happened to be home, which was wonderful because he was gone a lot. He was a flight engineer. So I looked at him and I came home and he said, what's the matter, darling? I said, Mr. Henry said there was a little girl with my name that died in Atlanta or was murdered in Atlanta and asked me if I was related. And I told him I didn't know. And he got very teary eyed. He was very startled. He was shocked. He didn't think I would hear about it, I guess, so soon. But what you have to understand is the Phagan family took up this vow of silence. He was married to my mother for 14 years, and she didn't know the story of Mary Phagan.
Wow.
I did not know that about this story, and I have
Mm-hmm.
dived into it, mainly the court case and the gist of what happened. But I knew among what happened with the committee that went down and the Leo Frank side, I knew there was a lot of people, Marietta, did not want to talk about this story. From another author that I read his book years ago, probably 15 years ago. I didn't realize that affected the Mary Phagan family as well. I didn't know that.
Right.
Amazing.
And so he told me, and he said, and I always say this, and I think you guys know what it means when he turned white as white. I mean, he was definitely a different daddy at that point. You know what I'm saying? He was shocked that I had found out about the story of Little Mary Phagan from my science teacher. So he sat me down, got me a glass of milk, and he sat me down, and he told me just very few little things. I'm 13. So he tells me what just he thinks that I need to know at 13. He tells me that little Mary was 13. She went to the pencil factory. She quit the week before. She was owed a pay of $1.20.
Wow.
And so it was Confederate Memorial Day, so she did not see the signs in the pencil company that payday had changed from Saturday, which was the normal payday, to Friday. So she wanted to go to the Confederate Memorial Day because we had a family member that was a Confederate and he died in the war. So she was going to honor our family member. Went to the pencil factory. Her Aunt Lizzie made her dress, made her clothes. So she was very nicely dressed because she was excited. She had a parasol and everything, just like a little girl would. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I did not know it, but I found out later through my very deep dive into research of the case again, when COVID hit, that she was wearing lavender. And that's why the book cover is with her in lavender.
Okay.
And what's really
Okay.
strange, is, will you believe that my room is, guess what color?
Oh,
Lavender.
wow.
Lavender. And I
Yeah.
said, no wonder I've got lavender in here. In fact, I have a little corner over here. I wish I could show it to you, but I don't want to move the phone. But it's all Mary Phagan stuff of her original portrait before she was murdered and things like that. The Phagan family original pictures. I have a lot of that stuff. So that's what he told me. And then he told me that she was found on the next morning, and Newt Lee, the night watchman, had found her body, and the detectives were called in, and that eventually there was a trial, and that Leo Frank was arrested and convicted, and then a vigilance committee came and lynched him when the governor commuted the sentence. And that's all
Yes.
he said. I'm 13. What do you think I did? In one ear, out the other. I didn't
Yeah.
understand, and I just thought, I will never be asked that question again. I was wrong. I'm still asked that question. And the only time I
Sure.
talk about it, now I talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
And, because I've changed over the years, but I never introduced myself as, oh, hi, I'm Mary Phagan Kean. I'm never. You had to ask
No.
me that question. So we moved to, grandfather was getting ill, which was Mary's brother, and she was his baby sister, and he was the protector of Mary. So like when she was being in a play called Sleeping Beauty, that's how beautiful she was. She was just a very, very beautiful young little girl, blue eyes, dark reddish hair. Now my facial features are like hers, but my eyes are deep dark brown because I got that from the Italian mother. She's full-blooded Italian, so I got
Yeah.
that from her. And because the Fagans are Irish and Scottish and English, and then I have the Italian in me. I think I got 48% Italian in me. The rest of it was all Fagan. So, but I could, it's just real cute how my DNA came out. So we moved, and then he said that he just wanted us to know our grandfather and our grandparents, and he knew that he may not last long. Well, we moved there in '69, and he died in '72. So that tells you that
Yeah.
it wasn't that long after. So I go to Shamrock High School, and I have 6 classes. All 6 teachers asked me that question.
Wow.
That's what I said to myself. Wow, what is
What
my
part of the
daddy not telling me about this story?
what
Because I'm
part of the
older, I'm
country were
15.
you in?
We were in Atlanta, Atlanta,
Atlanta. Okay.
Georgia.
All
Well,
right.
Decatur, Georgia. We were in Decatur, Georgia.
Okay.
So, and middle class Decatur, Georgia. And I was like, my daddy didn't tell me enough. And so I'm very inquisitive. I like to do research and stuff like that. And I just got that gene in me, I guess, for somehow. And it's been a great thing to have that because I was able to tell the story. Now you got to remember what my daddy's telling me is all oral history. There's no written documentation of the story. So he gives me, and he tells me, he said, there is more to the story. He said, I didn't tell you, but Leo Frank was of the Jewish faith, and a lot of people are claiming that he was convicted and unjustly, accused and unjustly convicted and all this stuff because of the religious faith. He said, I want you to know that there was due to anti-Semitism. That's what he told me. And I understood that.
Sure.
What he didn't tell me, then he told me about that he was a sexual pervert. I did not know what a sexual pervert was. Back in my day, we just didn't talk about those kinds of things.
Exactly.
And I'm glad we don't because they know too much these days, these kids.
Amen.
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 So, and I'm a former educator, so, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they know so much more than everything. So he made me get the dictionary and look up what a sexual pervert was. And I said, he did something to her physically? And he said, yes. And of course, I didn't know, and I'm just saying, and it's the truth, I didn't know about sex then. I mean, they know it at 8 and 9. I mean, I didn't learn until later. That year when I was 15, 16, I didn't know what engaging meant. I had no idea what sexual intercourse was either. So therefore, I was really shocked about the sexual pervert. So that's why sometimes I still say he's sexual pervert, but the true word that we use here today is pedophile.
Yes.
He was a pedophile. So, but I say sexual pervert because that's the way I was raised about the case. Is
Well,
that
that's what
my
he
daddy?
is. Or was.
Yes, yeah. So he told me that, and he said, well, since you're asking so many questions, I'm going to give you a book. So, all right, it was the first book he gave me was Harry Golden's book, A Little Girl Is Dead. So I read it, and I was very disturbed by it because the description of our family, that's not what he was telling me. They were telling us that, we were hillbillies and dirt poor and, all this stuff. And I thought, that's not how Daddy was presenting it. He said, I had a very wealthy family. We, we're buried in the wealthiest part of the Marietta City Cemetery and all this. Not that, wealth or means it's important. It's just that the depiction, and part of that depiction was because the Phagan family was told by Fannie Phagan Coleman not to ever discuss it with authors, newspapers, and it continued for very many, many, many years after that. So he let me read that book, and he said, now the next thing you're going to do, we're going to go to Georgia State University, and you and I are going to go read the original newspaper accounts. I said, yes, sir. The Atlanta Journal, the Atlanta Constitution, and the Atlanta Georgian. The trial was 28 days long, and we read, took us, so it was 15, 16, and 17, so 3 summers, we literally went and we made copies. And that's how I wrote my first book, was based on that, because all I had was oral history. So I'm reading all this stuff, and the librarians were very good to us, and they helped us copy it, because it was the mimeograph machine that we had to look through. And okay, so that's what we had to do. And you know how difficult that is to look at those yellow old newspapers from 1913? I literally had a magnifying glass looking to try to read it and stuff.
Yeah.
So we did that. And he said, and then he would see my mind, and he knew I was very inquisitive. I said, well, Daddy, this book that you gave me says completely opposite of what the articles are saying.
Yes.
So then I'm discovering that they're revising the story, the Mary Phagan case. I said, because he kept saying that they said, hang the Jew. They were on the rooftops shouting and yelling, and that he was, Jewish. What I discovered was not one newspaper during that time said that Leo Frank was Jewish, although all 3 editors were Jewish. So they were very pro-Frank.
Yes.
All 3 newspapers were very pro-Frank. They just said he was superintendent, National Pencil Company. And I'm saying, but why so then I got another book. He gave me another book, the Leonard Dennerstein book. But they're all saying the same thing. They're all saying this story that has been revised, that there was hang the Jew or will hang you. There's, it's because he was Jewish. There was so much anti-Semitism. The courtroom was a facade. It was out of control. I have articles that says strict decorum in the court. And the deputies that were in charge of it gave their statements, and they're very different than what these books are writing.
Wow.
And I'm saying, I just don't understand. So then because he gave me those 2 books, he led me in 1965, and we were in Hawaii at the time. These 2 authors, Harry Golden and Leonard Dennerstein, went to the archives in Atlanta to look at the historical evidence of the case. When they left, the trial transcript disappeared.
Wow.
So we have no trial transcript. What we have is a brief of evidence. It's a summary account. So to get the questions, like I did for my new book, I added a lot of questions in there so that you all could see how it really came about, was the newspaper accounts. That's the only way you could get that information nowadays. Do you think that new authors are going to go back and look at those?
No, I did not know that.
A lot of people don't.
I did not know that went up missing. I guess I always told people I looked at the trial transcripts. I guess I was looking at those evidences and stuff, but I did as much digging as I could. I went through different sources because from a whole different perspective on this, I heard the same thing. I was actually involved in Jewish missions in Atlanta, and I went to the Jewish Museum. I hear the story. I knew about the story. I watched that movie that they did about it. And I bought it hook, line, and sinker that it was the way that it was told to me. Yeah. But upon further research, because I picked up on somehow some information came to me, and I just something didn't feel right. So I went back and looked at all that, and I came away convinced absolutely the guy was guilty as sin, and he did this. So not to throw my part in there, I just. There's still parts I don't know, and I appreciate you so much being on here because it clarifies a lot of stuff. And because of what we're going to get into here in a few minutes, you're fighting this battle still to
Yes,
the
yes.
victim in this trial is Mary Phagan, Little Mary Phagan. It's
Yeah.
not
Not Leo
anybody else.
Frank, but they made him the hero. They're making him
Yeah,
the hero. And
yeah.
then when you find out what happened with the ADL and all that, and that's still going on today, so I'll let you know all that information as well,
I
Yeah.
and what
can't
they've done
believe
over
the
the years.
courthouse. I can't believe the
Yeah,
courthouse didn't have like a copy.
security. No, they didn't. So that they did have a brief of evidence, but they didn't have the trial
Right.
transcript with the questions. So
Wow.
every time I would get something going, I would say, "Oh, Daddy, this just doesn't make sense. All these books." Well, you know, I'm young at that age. Okay, I'm young and I don't understand. Come to find out later on, I realized that the authors were all Jewish.
Oh,
So
wow.
most of the books written about this case, except for me, I'm not Jewish, but I had Jewish grandparents, and I'll tell that story too. Um, I Steve Oney he's the ADL's considered expert. He came out with a book in 2003. He's not Jewish, but his wife is, and so he was really tied with the Jewish community when he was writing his book. It took him 17 years to write the book. His whole purpose, in my opinion, was to name the Vigilance Committee members, and he did. He did, and I do include them in my book, by the way. So I want you to know that.
Okay.
So
Wow.
then, all the other books, well, Guilty or Not Guilty, 1952, Francis X. Bush was, I don't think he was Jewish, but most of them were of the Jewish religion. And so, and what they did was there was a little book called, I'm going to get it for you so that people can see
Sure.
it. Do you
Go
mind
right.
if I do that?
No. Go ahead, folks. We are speaking with Mary Phagan Kean. She is related to, family of Little Mary Phagan, and we're talking about the case. And this is her book. Go to her website as well and order this book. I've just got this in. It is 500 pages, packed full of information. And if you're interested in this case and the ongoing battle to protect the victim here, this little precious girl, get this book and support the work. She's got a lot of information on her website, so we want to make that clear as well.
And he did say ongoing.
Yes,
Yes.
it is ongoing. It's ongoing today. So
Yeah.
here's the book. Book was 1956 when my family was asked to participate, and it's called The Night Fell on Georgia, Charles and Louise Samuels. Well, later in my research, again, they are Jewish. Okay, so this is the first book. It's one of the first early books, and of course, it's just like a novel. There's no footnotes. There's no bibliography, back then. And this is the book that most people would parrot, and where they did say in here, which I liked about it, that there was very little anti-Semitism in Georgia at the time of the trial. And also, too, the Atlanta community did not support Leo Frank.
Right.
That's good.
They did
Yeah.
not. But then it got twisted after the trial. So this book was very critical because it started really the revision of The Night Fell on Georgia. And when they said hang the Jew and stuff, what I found out, and Steve Oney found out, it was through a phone call. It wasn't when one of the guys picked up the phone call from the defense lawyers, and he said, we'll hang the Jew or we'll hang you. But it wasn't in the trial. It didn't happen during the trial. And I want to make that emphatically clear. There was no shouting of that whatsoever during the trial of Leo Frank.
If you go and see, I went to the Jewish Museum there in Atlanta, and they have this little corner set up for this case, and that's all it talks about. All these things that
Yeah.
you're saying, this didn't happen. It has all of that listed.
Yes.
Really amazing. A lot of, I guess it's fair to say, Mary, that a lot of outside influence into this case, into Atlanta, outside money and lawyers were brought in from outside of the state to work on this case. I mean, from what I understand, the defense lawyers were from New York, I think, if I remember.
No, they were here. They were from here. They were from
Okay.
Atlanta. Okay, Reuben Arnold and Rosser. Arnold Rosser. He was. They were two of the most famous lawyers in here,
Okay.
and you know about Tom Watson, the Carol.
Yes.
Okay, Tom Watson turned it down to be
Okay.
his defense lawyer. Okay, so he had nothing. That's a hoax. So I'm going to share some of the hoaxes as I'm talking, but that is a hoax. Tom Watson denied it, and he did not get involved during the trial. Nothing. He became involved in 1914, a year after almost the trial. So
Okay.
they connect Tom Watson with all his rhetoric regarding the Jewish population. and saying that that happened during the trial, and it did not. It happened after the trial. So there's a lot of misconception out there, and I want to clarify all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this book was real. It was real short, but it surprised me some of the things it said, and I was like, wow. I was very conflicted. You know, I go, why are they saying this? You know, I just don't understand why, where they got the information from. And you can't find where they got the information from because there's nothing there to tell us, you
Right.
know.
So the majority of the books have a skewed view,
Oh gosh, yes, yes.
and
They're
you're
doing this too,
attributing that.
even today, the new books. But the ones that are today are awful, you know, they're
So
just
you attribute that to just
this
people
book.
being pro Frank and
Yes,
trying to change
because they're the
the.
same religion.
Well, yeah,
That's
and they want to further their agenda, so to speak.
and exactly. So
Okay.
so that book was really neat. I'm gonna get the other book too. Hang
Sure,
on.
go ahead.
I
Folks,
have a,
fascinating,
I have a whole thing in here.
fascinating story. Again, the
Yeah.
movie was made, I think that was 80s. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
Jack
yes, I'll
Lemmon.
talk about that too. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And I remember watching that. And the focus
What was the
for,
name of the movie?
I
It's
don't
a
remember.
mini series, "The Murder of Mary Phagan," with
Oh,
Jack Lemmon playing the governor.
The governor. And
okay.
from the earliest days, his defense was trying to blame it on the security guard, right?
No, well, he did the security guard. No, that was called the night watchman at that time. That's the correct name, night
I got you.
watchman.
Yeah.
And Jim Conley was the janitor, and
Okay,
that's who they were trying to do. Okay, so he had very good defense people. It's really sad they were paying $15,000, I think, or $20,000 at that time in 1913.
wow.
That was a lot of money.
That's $1 million today.
Exactly. So I don't know, but after I read the case, I just looked at my daddy one day and I said, you know, they were stupid. He said, what do you mean? I said, they're just so stupid, Daddy. They used white privilege.
Yeah.
So the case was, so, you know, everybody said, there's so much racism in there about anti-Semitism. It wasn't the racism of the white man. It was the racism of the black man, the two black men.
Yes.
And they called Jim Conley, for example, a lying, filthy, drunken, lion, the N word. I don't want to say the N word. I just can't do that. I'm sorry. I wasn't raised that way. I just can't do it. So, and their defense was no white man would have murdered a little girl.
Huh.
It had to be that of a black man. And even Leo Frank states that himself later on. He states that himself, it's the work of the Negro. No white man can do this.
Bald-faced lie.
Wow. That's truly amazing.
Wow.
Yes, and a lot of people aren't aware of that either. There was racism in the case, extreme racism, but it was. And now, what's interesting about the brief of evidence, and I have that here in my room too, in the trunk. What they say it was the first time, and that's what my daddy told me too when I turned 15. Oh, when I was 13, he said it was the first time a white man was convicted because of a black man's testimony, or several black men. It was the first time in the history of the South ever that black people were allowed to testify in court, women and men. And in the brief of evidence, when those people were testified, they put in parentheses colored.
Okay.
So that's how they identified them as colored. They didn't even say black back then. Well, they did. The northern people said black, and some people in the South said black. But mainly here in the transcript, it was colored.
Are you amazed that that it went 28 days? I didn't know the length of time either that this case went. Were there a lot of witnesses or what?
Yes.
Okay.
The majority of the witnesses were for the defense who described Frank's good behavior and character.
So they were just
character witnesses.
Character witnesses. Yes. So when they found Mary's body, the detectives, it automatically went to Newt Lee, the night watchman. So he was the one they first assumed could be the murderer. So they call Leo Frank. Leo Frank says he doesn't know Mary Phagan. He'd have to check his book to see her ID number. So they get in the car and they go in there and he looks at her body and he goes with Jim, Newtley, excuse me. Sometimes I get Jim and Newt mixed up. There's so much information in my head. He goes with Newtley and he shows the detectives the punch system for his hours. And oh, perfect. Nothing wrong with it. So the defense and Leo Frank started with planting evidence. And the next day, Leo Frank came back with a different stamp card where it gave enough time in there for Newt Leak to murder my great aunt.
And that was never called into question?
No.
Wow.
Well, I mean, none of the other books will tell you that. Steve Oney's book might. There's a few that'll tell you about it, but most of the other books ignore these things.
Wow.
They completely ignore them.
That's amazing. I didn't know that either. Which there's a lot about this I don't know. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Clarify
well, great.
that.
I'm glad you're learning some things for me. And
I am.
Thank
I
you.
mean, it's just amazing. So then Leo Frank, so that was Leo Frank's doing. Then he says that he didn't know Mary Phagan, and that is an untruth. He lied because John
I did
Gant, the
remember
Phagan
that.
family member, he knew the Phagan family very well, and he knew Mary Phagan very well. And that's what he told the detectives about him. Now, you got to remember, Newt Lee's in jail. So then Gant goes into jail too, based on Leo Frank's testimony to the detectives. But yet Leo Frank said he did not know Mary Phagan, but he told them that Gant knew her very well.
Yeah.
Okay. So he goes to jail. And
Wow.
then later on, Jim Conley comes into the picture, and Jim Conley mentions he gives 4 different affidavits, and he says that he helped carry the body of Mary Phagan with Leo Frank to the basement. And so then, of course, he becomes a witness and testifies against Leo Frank. So that's where it comes in, the first actual, colored person testifying. And then Newt Lee testified. Magnolia McKnight, Frank's maid, testified, who was colored, and all those people. There were several colored people. There were some boys there. There was one they called him Snowball. I thought that was the cutest name in the world. You know what I said? But
Yeah.
he was working in the factory. So Jim Conley was the janitor. But again, it's just like, so Conley gave 4 statements, but what happens is most of the books ignore it, is the fact that Leo Frank stated 4 different times that little Mary Phagan came in to get her pay.
Yeah.
But that's not important. It's only the fact that Jim Conley gave 4 different affidavits, not that Leo Frank. He kept changing the time further and further away from noon because Montine Stover came in and he wasn't at his desk when she went to pick up her pay, and Mary Phagan was already there and supposedly gone.
Another thing I want to catch real quick, because I think it's important. I didn't know. I knew that she was going to the parade. I knew that she went to go get her paycheck. I didn't know that she had quit already. I didn't know that part.
That was part of my oral history. Yes. And
okay. I didn't know that.
So this, I'll just let me get my other book too, so you can
Go
see.
ahead. This is
The first part
fascinating.
of this book is for 12
Yeah.
chapters. I did change everything. Some things in there that I discovered that were inaccurate during my oral history. So I want you to know that. I want you to know that Daddy did tell me some things that he wasn't sure about.
So
And-
Mary,
So
the fella that said he helped carry little Mary
Mhm.
to the basement. Well, I mean, did they try to, paint him as a liar and all that
Yes.
stuff?
Oh, yes. And what changed the trial was his testimony, and Luther Rosser was just a devious heck of a lawyer in cross-examination. And Jim Conley spent 16 to 17 hours, almost 3 days worth, and he never changed his story. And that's when the newspapers came out saying that most people in the state of Georgia believed that Leo Frank was guilty then.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that part of it, and they tried their best to break him, and he never broke.
He never broke.
Yeah, and that's a brutal grilling. I mean, that long.
Yes.
Wasn't it very hot during this time? It was like
Yes.
it was very hot during the trial, very hot in
Right.
the courtroom, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so all the solicitors and the defense things are doing. So I'm going to go back a little bit, but it's the trial was the anti-Semitism. It wasn't there, but there were 2 incidences where the issue of Jewishness did come out. And the first time was Leo Frank's mother. And the prosecutor was questioning a little girl and talking about, the sexual part of it. And she jumped up and she said something like, and neither did you, you Gentile dog. Well, that came out. So there that implies the only implication of that is the Jewishness there. And they made her leave court. Then that was the last day of court. The defense team brought, because I think they knew they were losing, they brought in several people that said that the trolley car conductor, George Kenley, said that if he was on the jury, he would be hanging, he would hang that Jew. And I think that's unfortunately how it ended. But, those are the only two times that I know of that I could find that there was any really evidence that something about Jewishness came out, and that's what happened. But it
Now,
wasn't like anti-Semitic to Frank. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But the defense is the one that brought it out,
yeah.
not prosecutor story. They're the ones that brought them out, and of course they were Jewish themselves.
I remember I read somewhere, and I may be wrong, but his staff or the help that they had at home mentioned, if I remember right, that he acted very strange that night, different at
Yeah.
home after this happened, and they knew something wasn't right. The help, how many, I don't remember how many work, cook, whatever they were, cleaners, whatever, in the home, Leo Frank's home. They said he acted nervous and just was different. There was something different about him when he got home that night.
And that is very true. Magnolia McKnight was the cook, and she testified during the trial to that. And also the detectives said the same thing about him, that he was very nervous and very unusual behavior.
Yeah.
So there, it was it
Now,
was
how did
just a
he
very
get? Do you know how he came to the plant? Was that
uh-huh.
family that owned
Yeah.
it already, and he came in to run it for the family? Is that how he got to that plant? Okay.
Yes. He was sent to Germany to learn about the pencil factory and how pencils and stuff, to learn how to work. And he was hired by who was it? Was it his uncle? I'm not sure if I'm correct on that, but okay. But I know the reason why I'm getting confused is Alfred Urey, who did the parade. His uncle was the owner of the superintendent factory, so that's why
Okay.
Parade is the worst musical you have ever seen, but yet they won Tony Awards for it. So,
Now,
and
after the
that's the
trial, he was convicted at trial. Leo Frank, we're
yeah,
talking about. He was convicted and sentenced to death. Right? Was he sentenced to death or life? He was.
death
I
by
can't remember.
hanging.
Death by
Death by
hanging, and he was
hanging.
taken to Milledgeville, Georgia. Correct?
Yeah,
Y'all have
correct.
that right? Okay.
Yes.
And that's where he was at until they got him out of there and brought back up.
Well, they
Right.
commuted his sentence. The governor commuted his sentence, right?
Yes.
Yes, and
And
that's
then,
something we need to talk about too, because
Yes, let's go
what the
there
Fagan
because
family felt. Yeah, what the Fagan family. So anyway, he was convicted. Okay, how all this anti-Semitism comes, I'll tell you that too. Right after the trial, his rabbi Marx went to New York and spoke to Adolf Ochs, publisher of the New York Times, and said that it was anti-Semitism that the reason why he was convicted. Well, he called the Chicago philanthropist Albert Lasker, who has bukus and bukus of money. So they went on a financial campaign to get a new trial for Leo Frank. So actually, what really happened is we ended the war between the states 60 years earlier, but now we were back again, like a mini war between the states because of Leo Frank. The North wanted to, say he was innocent, he was Jewish,
yeah,
that kind of thing. And we were saying no because you weren't there. At the time of the trial, New York Times didn't give a darn about this case. They only printed, I believe, 6 articles throughout the whole 28 days. They never kept up
amazing.
with it.
Wow.
They didn't have any daily newspaper. He was arrested. The grand jury arrested him. That's the other thing too. See, I get so much in my head. I'm sorry. The grand jury. There were 5 members of the grand jury that were Jewish, and a couple of them were gone. One Jewish person, another one, and it was 21-0 the vote to bring Frank to trial for the murder of Mary Phagan. So,
Okay.
okay, people
Now,
need to know the grand jury did that, and that most important thing about that, Jim Conley didn't testify.
oh, okay. Didn't know that.
Yes, a lot of people
so,
don't. It's just they don't tell you that. They don't want
so
you to.
that
Yeah,
there was a lot more evidence.
There's a lot more evidence than what
they were.
Yeah.
they
Well,
say.
they worked to keep that stuff out. Now, Marx,
Okay.
you mentioned, he was the rabbi at the temple, which was in Atlanta and still is a very long time. I've read the book a lot about that. I've actually been there and did a tour, so I'm familiar with that. I think that's on Peachtree, if I remember. but that's the reference there is to his rabbi. And yeah, it was a full court press to, as you said, it's very unfortunate painting up this family in the light that they were trying to paint them up in, hillbillies, backwoods, and you can see, I mean, look what a beautiful young lady
Yeah.
we're talking about here. Just it's so unfortunate that what was happening. So how long after the incarceration at Milledgeville was he? How long was that before he was brought back to Marietta by the vigilante force or the vigilance force?
Well, the Vigilance Committee, so the governor, his last day of office was like June 21st, and I believe, or June 22nd, and he wrote the commutation. So he said death by hanging goes to prison, life in prison. So he was lynched on August 17th. So, and I found out that before he was lynched, I mean, right after the, the the case was, over and everybody was claiming all this anti-Semitism, he had 13 appeals. All stated that Leo Frank was guilty, including the United States Supreme Court. They went through two Supreme Courts and several Georgia Supreme Courts here in Georgia. But most people won't tell you that either, that none of them did that. And
Didn't know
that's
that.
why I got this book out for you, was to show you that. And you can't see it anymore. I'm sorry, it's so old. This is a 1952 book. It's called Guilty or Not Guilty by Francis X. Bush. And his last name is, let me see how he spells Bush. I think it's B-U-S. Yeah, B-U-S-C-H. And Francis is F-R-A-N-C-I-S. Because my middle name's Francis. So I remember there's a male version and a female version of it. And what he did was, he is the first person in 1952 that started to see how the media was distorting the truth. And he was doing it by Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes. And Oliver Wendell Holmes dissented because of mob terrorism, supposedly. Well, this guy here in this book, he prints out the whole statement by Oliver Wendell Holmes. And then he footnotes the reason why he's doing it. And it's just really proves that I'm in the same position as he has, and that he sees how they try to finagle the case and want people to believe that, he's innocent. And so he said I'm trying to find the footnote for you. I'm sorry. I should have.
No, you're fine.
Next time I'm just going to just do it. Oh, here it is. I'm not going to read you what he said, but I'm just going to read it. It's on page 70. It says, quote number 16. The above is quoted at length because of the impression created at the time by the publicity given to the great jurist's dissent, which was out of all proportion to that accorded the majority opinion that Frank had from the outset been the marked victim of mob terrorism. So see, he disputes the fact that there was no terrorism, there was no hang the Jew, there was none of that. But because it was Oliver Wendell Holmes, and the Jewish community today really, really takes, Oliver Wendell Holmes dissented, said there was mob terrorism. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is the reason why this is a good book. I started collecting books when I was 15, when I found out of the case, and Mom and I would find books. And at that time I wasn't driving, so she would take me everywhere, and they'd have a book sale at the libraries around Atlanta, and we go, and I found a lot of the books there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you remember why, or know why in your research, the reason that the governor took away the death penalty? What was his reasoning for that?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
You want to know?
Yes.
He was a member of the law firm that defended Leo Frank, and my family felt very strongly that he was paid.
Wow.
Wow.
It just gets deeper.
But he's a hero. Everybody makes that Governor Slayton a hero, and I'm sorry, he's not a hero in our family. He is not. And he may have done a lot of good things, but my family did not feel that. They were very upset with what he did.
Wow.
Because he just made it worse.
Yes. Yeah, because then that inflamed.
And I have the evidence. I have the newspaper article which says that he's joined the law firm, Rosser, Brandon, Slayton. Yeah, So he should have excused himself from this. But the truth is that they knew, the defense team too, and it is said, and I did find some information where they were watching him, and they saw one of the defense team members go in the mansion at the governor's mansion, and he didn't leave until really late and then the next day he commuted the sentence. So I'm sure one of those lawyers brought it to him already written up.
Real quick, we have some guests in the chat. A couple
Okay.
of things. Barry, who helped me get the information to contact you, he asked, have you researched the newspapers in the Digital Library of Georgia since they're now online and easier to research? Have you had an opportunity to look through some of those?
I want to tell you how proud I am. Voila! That is part of me at www.littlemaryphagan.com. And I started it in 2019, and I can tell you that story. But if you now, or I can tell it later, it doesn't matter, because I got angry. And I'm doing a Mary Phagan Kean legacy where we are transcribing all the newspapers. We're now in the process of transcribing the Georgia Supreme Court record so they can't censor me anymore. I've been censored. My book was, the first book was censored, of course, on Amazon. I'm still on Amazon with this book, but I'm surprised that they haven't.
Yeah, excuse me for just a minute.
Yeah, no problem. That's awesome, and I've looked at your website. I've got to go deeper into it, and I didn't realize there was a first book. So, what is the difference between the first and second book?
Well, the first book has the second book has all the same thing in the but I found
Okay, it's updated.
It's updated because I found out some of the things that Daddy had said. I'm sorry, my dogs are barking back there.
You're fine.
I have a big Rottweiler. He does not like when this door is shut. He cannot stand me being in this room when the door.
He sounds healthy. It's all good.
I know he sounds good, but oh, that is so funny. So
No.
I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about the digital records.
Oh,
also,
yes.
Barry wanted to know, have you considered reaching out to the members of the Conley family or other descendants about their side of this?
Okay, Conley didn't have any descendants, but my grandfather actually met Conley in 1933.
Wow.
They had a conversation, and my grandfather brought him over, and he told my grandfather that he did not murder little Mary Phagan and rape her, but it was Leo Frank, and my grandfather believed him. And my aunt, Annabelle, she happened to be there. She was his older sister, and she confirmed that with me when I interviewed her and stuff like that. And she said, she said she was really surprised because she used the N-word, but because that's the way she was raised. She said that she was surprised he let that in the house. You know what I'm saying? She was shocked,
Yeah.
but he said, don't you know who this is? This is the one that helped Leo Frank murder our little Mary. So that's the only one. When Conley just kind of disappeared, he did not do a deathbed confession. Even the ADL today mentions that. So what we forgot to say is that after the trial, during the trial, Leo Frank was president of B'nai B'rith. He was very, very popular and very well liked. After the trial, he was, they gave him the title. They reelected him. And then, of course, later on, this case was the formation of the Anti-Defamation League, or the ADL as we know it today, for Frank, and it still is. It's a very powerful organization, as we all are aware of right now. And they have really been strong in making sure that this is known that it was a case of anti-Semitism. And the Vigilance Committee is anti-Semitism, but it's the people. Now, you're from Georgia, right?
Yes.
You guys are from Georgia. Okay. Well, what's really sad is our state has been just as bad as the ADL as far as our family is concerned. And my last newsletter, it's on my website. I have 15 newsletters since 2019 that I've been letting out and putting it on websites everywhere. But, several governors, it's just been really awful with our state. And they, former Governor Roy Barnes is involved right now. Rabbi Stephen LeBeau is right now in the ADL Southeast with Robert Wittenstein. And his father was instrumental in trying to get a pardon for Leo Frank when something came out in 1982. So it's very disturbing that the governor, the rabbi, they've made markers. I have a chapter in the new book. So a murderer gets a marker, and they tout and promote the anti-Semitism and all that, and that's the reason why he was lynched. And
what does Governor Barnes have to do with it?
Well, he is a lawyer, and
Okay.
he does cases, and obviously he likes to get on the cases. He
Be seen.
yeah. And
Well, here's the real reason why he's doing it. I think he didn't have an interest in it for years. Rabbis had interest in it for 30 years. His wife's grandfather was part of the vigilance committee, and she did not know that. She found that out.
oh, I didn't know that
I think
either.
I think he has this desire that he's got to make up for the sin. But what's happening now? He's now saying that Rabbi and him have now said, well, they backed away from the anti-Semitism at the trial and hanged the Jew. I think that they've been.
Yeah.
They realize it. Now they're saying that the Vigilance Committee members, who were well-known members, a former governor, a sheriff, lawyers, automobile mechanics, because it was the first lynching done by car. So I think he's ashamed about his family's what they've done. But you
That's a
can't tell
great
me that
point.
all those men, you can't tell me that they were anti-Semitic. These wealthy people.
Yeah.
I mean, Brumby, the Marietta Brumby Rocking Company. Okay, well, he's in it too. So they had different parts. People don't understand that the Vigilance Committee wasn't just 25 men. They had a committee of about 10 or 14. Well, actually, there were 14. These are the 14 men. When they found out that the Georgia Prison Commission was going to vote 3-2, or for Frank to be what was it called? Not go to prison or something like that. I can't remember what they were doing. They were just doing something with it, and they went there, all 14 of them, and most of those ended up being the planning committee, and they're listed in my book. The names are listed in the book. All the names.
Were any of the vigilance committee members Jewish?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Have you ever spoken to Roy Barnes? Had an opportunity to speak to him at any point, or have communications with him or his staff?
No,
Okay.
I just call him a liar.
I just wondered. I remember we talked a little bit before we were setting the interview up, and I didn't know about the wife. The connection there.
Right.
To that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like get involved and then find out how involved you really are.
Right, and of course, so Roy. Oh, and John Lewis, the former congressman
Yes.
here. They were all working together to get a new trial for Leo Frank, and so that's what happened in 2019, when the Conviction Integrity Unit came out in 2019. So, and they had all these names in the articles and stuff like that they do that, and they came right out and said in 2019. And wait till you hear the date that they announced the Conviction Integrity Unit to exonerate Leo Frank of the murder of my great aunt Mary Phagan, and it was the day she was murdered, April 26, 2019.
Oh, wow! The
How
audacity.
disrespectful is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did she end up in her burial place of Marietta? Do you know anything about that? Like, did they have family plots there, or was
Yes.
it donated? Okay, I wondered
Yeah.
that when I went.
Her grandfather, which is my great grandfather, was W.J. Jackson. I mean, W.J. What they call him, W.J. Phagan. I'm sorry, W.J. Phagan, and he had already bought a plot. So he's buried where, like, Sanford, the Georgia Sanford, the guy from University of Georgia. So we're in that part of the section that was considered to be wealthy at that time, and so he had several plots there. And she was born in Alabama, but she was buried in Marietta. They came back. Her father died in 1899 before she was born. He died from what now we are facing today in our society, which is just amazing to me, from measles.
Wow. Okay.
So she came back here to Marietta to be with her side of the family, the Benton family.
Well,
In your study of your family and specifically Mary Phagan, good evening, Watchman. What do you know anything? I mean, we're talking about a normal girl who lived their family, worked. What do we know about her besides, because most of it gets the attention on what happened, this horrible tragedy. What do we know about her as a young lady?
Well, I understand that through my grandfather that, she was very jovial. She had a great personality. And he looked at me, my grandfather, like me. He said, one day he pulled out her picture and he said, pointed at her and pointed at me. And when I tried to ask him questions about it, he just broke down. It was bad. It was bad. I never could ask him again. I just couldn't do it. It just, the hurt that I saw I'm sorry, I'm crying. The hurt that I Oh,
Yeah, I
I
understand.
told Daddy, I said, I'm never going to ask him another question about it. I can't. I said,
Yeah.
you're going to have to tell me what he told you because I'm alive now and he sees her and me.
Yeah.
And it was just too difficult. He broke down so bad. I mean,
So I'm
very,
so
very.
sorry
But
again.
anyway,
We
she was going to play Sleeping Beauty for the church. She was in a play, and he went with her to
okay.
the play. And he said they were chuckling when the prince had to come kiss her. You know, she'd look at him and he'd look at her, and they would start laughing and giggling. You know, and have a good thing like that. She was the life of the family. She was the youngest. She was the baby, and she had cousins. And when I wrote the first book, they were still living.
Oh wow.
So I got to interview people that knew her, and they told me how they played dolls, how they played dress up, and all this kind, and how what games they played, and that she was just so beautiful, and she spent a lot of time in Marietta with her cousins. And the reason why she went to work at the pencil factory and she started at age 12 was because they moved during the middle of the year and she could not get a seat in school.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
Yes, Daddy told me that. So he told me that she didn't get a seat, and so she went to, like I said, because her other brothers and sisters, her sister Ollie Mae, we was working at Rich's, um,
Oh
and
yeah.
then Uncle Ben was in the Navy. So now here's the hillbillies coming out, right? Uncle Ben was in the Navy. Her uncle Charles was a farmer, and he stayed in Marietta and was with his uncle. He stayed with his uncle to learn the farming techniques. And so that's what they did. But, and then my grandfather actually was ended up many years later being the best weaver in Georgia at the time at one of the mills that he worked at. But most people tell you that we worked in the cotton mills. The entire family worked in the cotton mills, and that's not true either.
Yeah.
It's because the Phagan family didn't speak out.
Yeah.
And I understand their pain. I have their pain. I feel it. I have it, and it's hard. It's a generational trauma that that the ADL has caused for our family, and they have made billions of dollars off this case by you saying Leo Frank. They use that as an advertising campaign because due to anti-Semitism to make money off of it.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm sure the what's that other organization down there, the Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm sure they've
Yes.
had their part in this as well.
Oh
Because
yeah, sure they have,
I
but I
know,
haven't. Yeah.
I know what kind of people. I know what kind of organization that is.
Yeah.
We've had dealings with them through history and stuff that we've tried to. They've labeled us. They've labeled all of us. Racist, terrorist. Just horrible stuff. And people buy that stuff. They believe it. So yeah, they pour the money in to come after people who care about Georgians. They care about history. And unfortunately we have a history of young girls being mistreated. I mean, the Roswell Mill girls that were taken away and
Right.
stories like that, horrible, horrible things. And it's just, you're right. It's a generational trauma, tragedy to your family. And, that's pain that it just don't go away. It's
No.
horrible. And that's why one of the main reasons I wanted to learn, I'm here to learn. I wanted to find out some details that I didn't know to get the facts of it and to let you have an opportunity to tell how this is a lifelong fight. You're in this and it's going to continue on in the future, and to share the story of who this little girl was, because it's not about him. This is about her. That she's the victim here, not him. She's the
Right.
victim. And it's
And I feel the
disgusting.
tide has turned to make Leo Frank the hero, and he's not. It's Mary Phagan, like you said, she's the victim, and that's where it goes from.
Yeah, and your family, by
Yeah.
extension, your family, and it continues
Yeah.
the disrespect, the trashing. They try to trash your family and mock and say different things. And so, tell us. I think you said that you were. Correct me, please, because I'm going on. I'm trying to go by memory when we talked. You are setting. You have this website, which is amazing and has all this information.
Thank you.
And you have is it a foundation or something to that effect
Yeah,
that will
well,
caretake?
I call it the Mary Phagan Kean Legacy.
Okay.
And so I'm doing a trust right now to make sure that it will be for the next 200 years so that the truth will remain out there. And what we're doing is we're putting all the records of the case, Mary Phagan case, and we're transcribing them. Oh, good. I saw you drinking too, so I'm going to take a drink if you don't mind.
Go ahead. We're very informal
I'm
here.
so
We're-
sorry.
No, we have you talking a lot, and I want to thank you again
Sorry
to our
about that.
listeners. We're 1 hour into this 2 hour time that we have, and we're so gracious to have. She's so gracious to come on the podcast,
Yeah.
and I think she said we were the first Georgia podcast that actually
Yep.
called. So
Georgia has nothing.
you're-
Nobody from Georgia's contacted me anything. No newspapers, no
Wow.
nothing. They don't like me. They're gonna, but yet they'll do Roy Barnes and they'll do the rabbi every time.
Oh, yeah,
they do
yeah.
something, you know.
and me and the biscuit boy here, Paul LeBron, we're going to be going down to the grave, and we're not bragging or anything. We just want to honor.
Yeah.
When I
Thank you
went
so
there,
much.
and I didn't know some of the case. I can tell you what I went. I asked my wife today. I said, "Do you remember when we went to the grave?" And I don't know how to describe it. When I stood there, not having this connection that you have, I wept, and I remember saying, I don't know what anybody can hear in the hereafter, but I remember saying, I am so sorry, so
Yeah.
sorry. It's just heartbreaking. It really
Yeah.
is.
Well,
And so
you know, there's
we're
just a
going to
lot
go
of
down to the grave, and we want to just lay
good.
some flowers in honor of her, and just from our heart.
Say a
And we'll
prayer.
make sure it looks clean and everything when we're there to make sure there's nothing
Oh,
trash.
good. Oh, but you know what? I love going there because all the kids put things in there. She gets notes from kids, and teddy bears are out there, and flowers are out there, and it's just really a
Meet us
beautiful
down there.
sight. It is just really, really wonderful. So it's crazy when I go down there. But a good thing is part of the legacy is, like I said, I'm doing a trust. Bernard and I didn't have children, so we are going to put our monies into a trust so that this story can continue with the truth and it won't die out. I actually own a couple websites, quite a few websites, but everybody doesn't know it's me that owns them. But I'm not going to say which ones they are or not. But
Sure.
so we're just inundating everything. We've already been censored off 5 websites, and I believe that the ADL has really become an organization of hate against the truth.
Yeah. And I want to tell you, strange things are happening. Early on, when we did our podcast, Instagram would always limit us to 1 hour. That has been well over a year since I just did a 3 hour stream last night, almost 3 hours, and Instagram has kicked us off after 1 hour. That is not a coincidence, by the way.
Right.
That is not a coincidence. Keywords out of this case.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
convinced that this has happened because of that filtering and making sure to stop this. That's amazing. I've not seen this in over a year. We're on all the other streams, we're fine, but Instagram kicked us out. That just doesn't happen. Folks, get this book. Help out. This is amazing. Let me get my face out of the way. This is what's the how do we get to your website? We'll put this up in the links later. But.
Okay, it's www.littlemaryphagan.com.
Very easy, folks. Please buy this book. Support it. You're going to get valuable information. She has spent a large portion of her life researching, and you've got things in the back here that are amazing. You've got footnotes. It's just it's a great book, and you're going to want it because you want to see what's going on, and bookmark her website so you can keep up with the newsletters, the stories, the information that she has.
And that's all
going
free.
forward.
I don't charge. And for those that want to read the first book, you can download the first book free.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
I don't charge for that. I'm not out to make money. I want you to know
Sure.
that. I don't want to. If I sell a few books, great. It's just going to go right into the trust. It's not going to be in my checking account. It's going to the trust. And my nephew's taking over, and he will be in charge of the trust when I pass, and he knows what to do and that kind of thing. One other thing I do want to mention too about the Mary Phagan Kean legacy, I've already donated. Let me see how many. I'm trying to look at that trunk of it. I think I donated 2 or 3 trunks and all my original materials from the time when we moved to Atlanta from 15, and it's my collections at Georgia State University because they were the ones that helped me with, and I have all the microfiche in the collection of the 3 newspapers. So I don't
Amazing.
want them to destroy them because things disappear all of a sudden. I like the trial transcript.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of Tom Watson stuff, and I know he was a colorful character, and I know he was very prolific in his writings against the Jewish community. And, a lot of his works have disappeared, but I have copies of them. And so that's why I wanted to save those things for the future. Actually, what happened, the rabbi donated his collection, and I called because I wanted to read part of it. And I called and said that, I wanted to do this. And Mr. Mitchell said, well, it's not ready available. I said, okay, when it's ready available, will you contact me? He said, yes. And I said, well, would you like to see my collection? He said, you have a collection? I said, yeah, I have a 57-year-old collection. And he said, I would love to see it. So he came and he saw my original copies from Georgia State University when I was 15, 16, and 17. Because, see, I
Yeah.
did all of John Conley's testimony and I did the courtroom stuff. It showed how everything like that. And I gave him my file and I had it all organized by people. And he said, he was quiet. He said, this is amazing. This is, he could not believe it. He left that day and I don't know what happened when that folder went to him and he just said, this is so amazing. I said, would you like to take it with you? And he I even had a heart attack. I said, I don't know why I'm saying this. Would you like to have my collection? And he said, absolutely. And so he had to come back another time to get the other part because the other part was in two different states and I had to have it all shipped to me. So now it's all in one place at Georgia State University. It has all the books that I've mentioned in here. It's all there because I don't want this part of history to be erased as well.
God bless you. I mean,
Yes.
amazing.
And I do have like the year, the trial, the 28th of April, all the way to the end August of the Atlanta, is it the Constitution or the Journal? I think the Constitution, the original articles, and they're in big, big folders. I mean, they're huge. They're like huge. I mean, huge. And of course, they're all starting to deteriorate. Some of them are, and it's all yellow. And that's the reason why, that's what made me decide that in 2019, when the conviction integrity, I got angry.
Yeah.
And I got angry and I said, what can I do to let people know what is going on with the Mary Phagan case? And I said, well, I need to do a website. So I hooked up with some people and I do have a team Phagan still today. And we do things with it and put everything on it and go, it's just like crazy. Now we're doing audios and now we're doing AI with the voices of the people. And we have the entire brief of evidence on X now in AI.
Oh, amazing. I didn't,
And audio. I'm sorry, audio
yeah.
and AI. I'm sorry. Yeah, both of them. But it's in audio because some people don't like to read, or they have difficulty or they're too slow. And I'm a former educator, special education teacher, so I understand that. And I said we must do it. So I want that to be audio and video. So they have it, and it highlights and it has the original brief of evidence summary, and it just reads it to you if you want it to read to you. So cool.
Yeah. What do you, maybe a two-tiered question here, what do you think the legacy of Mary Phagan is, and what do you think it is? I think that's maybe two different things, maybe not. What do you think the legacy is? Because we look at a story that is promoted a lot, like, Anne Frank. That's a great example of her story and what happened to her, and a total different thing on the other side of this. What is the legacy here of this case and of Mary Phagan, and what should it be? Should it be more, or where do you see it, and what would you like to see out of all the work that you've done?
I think the legacy of Little Mary Phagan is it's really the first time a Jewish pedophile has been convicted, and he is the Jeffrey Epstein of 1913. And that child trafficking, whatever, is a bad thing, and it happens years ago, and it happened in 1913, and she was the first victim of it. And it's so bad nowadays with Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein that I always say that Leo Frank is the first convicted pedophile in the history of the United States. And, unfortunately, they changed it, and he was Jewish, and that's true. And, it seems like a lot of the pedophiles these days are of the Jewish religion. And so that's what I think it is. I mean, I know it sounds awful and it sounds so mean, but I really am upset with the fact that she was raped, and horribly raped. When I had to read the autopsy report, I couldn't do it. I'll cry again. Sorry.
No, that's
I'm sorry.
hard
I'm taking
stuff.
big heaps.
Bless your
It
heart.
took me it took me 3 days to read it because I couldn't believe it. And that's the other thing too, is like, and that they're smearing Mary Phagan now because they're saying she wasn't a virgin, and I want people to know that
Horrid people.
they
My
said
God.
the blood in her panties was menstrual blood, and even the governor said that. And my family said no. My grandmother said no. She wasn't even a puberty stage, but she was well built, if you know what that means. She had breasts. And I mean, have you seen the 12-year-old girls today and 10-year-old girls today? Yeah, they
Yeah,
look like 16 and 18, some of them. And that's what maybe she did. But she still was fully covered. My family would never let her go out showing anything like
sure.
they do now, you know?
Yeah.
So, so I said, well, what did grandmother say, Daddy? Daddy said, well, if she had her menstrual cycle, she would have had a cloth and two pins holding the cloth in place, and she did not. So then I went back and did some research. What was the type feminine product protection used in 1913? It's exactly what my daddy said. So, and she didn't have it on her body. You know, I mean, she was viciously raped and viciously murdered, and
So horrible. So
it's horrible.
horrible.
And you know, the significance of her death is important because I think it was a time of transition in our country, and I'm doing this from the educated, you know, being an educator, that we were in turmoil, and we were in turmoil with the black race, and we were in turmoil. We were only 60 years away from the war between the states, and it was still going on in ways, and black people were just being lynched. And I think it's very significant that the black population got to be involved and got to testify in this case.
That is
And
amazing.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned that, and I never thought about it from that perspective. And that centrally, how that I don't ever remember a case like that.
Well,
Wow.
and my dad said supposedly, and so I changed that from the first book to now. It was, you know, it was the first. So I definitely found that out for sure. So you know, that's what I'm saying. So I did correct some errors in the book, and he said
Yeah.
supposedly because he, like I said, this is just his oral history, and he's passing it to his daughter. You know,
Right.
and so I think that's the importance. You know, there was a lot of transition within the South at that time. The carpetbaggers were coming here. I think it was a very difficult time for the South at that time. You know, and I
Yes.
wasn't born in the South. I was born on an Air Force base in Washington State. So
Yeah.
my brother, my younger brother, who passed very young, was born in the South. He was born in South Carolina. Us other three were born up there.
You
So I think
mentioned,
that's important, though, and I think what do I say? The way that the hoaxes started and the way there's just so many of them. It's just ridiculous. One of them, since I was talking about the autopsy report, in 1964, a French guy named Pierre Van Passun claimed that Mary had bite marks on her body, on her breast, and that was something that that Daddy and I had talked about, and he said he didn't think so. But you know, at that time, he didn't have an autopsy report. He didn't have all this digital stuff like I'm putting up on my websites. You know, I mean, you have to go down and go. Who wants to go to Georgia State and go look at all that stuff nowadays? When it's, you know, it's just you make it accessible. So he was just saying that it was that he had the dental records. He went to the down in the 1920s. Now he writes this book in '64, but yet he's talking about what happened in the 1920s when he went to the Fulton County to research the case. Well, I was like, okay, but the embalmer didn't say there was anything on her body, on her breast, say that she wasn't bitten on her breast.
yeah.
Yeah. The Dr. Harris said there wasn't anything on there when he testified in court, and that his testimony is considered in an autopsy report. And so it was like, well, that's kind of weird. Well, then I discovered that there, how could that be? They didn't have X-rays for dentists back then.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they make it up, and the makeup just the hoaxes just continue and continue, and this no one dispels them. I've read every book here in this library, and I've gone through every one of the hoaxes and list the chapters and the page numbers that they promote the hoax, and then I dispel it. I call it debunking it.
Yeah.
So that's what I've done, and you know that took a lot of work.
Good for
That's what I
you.
did during COVID. Yeah, and I was really proud of that paperwork.
Yeah.
You know, it just is amazing. So yeah, I think her legacy is a good one, and it's for people to still be aware that it's still happening today, and we as a country need to do something about these people that are pedophiles. And
Yes.
like the guy in Nevada, he just flew to Israel. They got him out. He didn't even, didn't
Yeah.
I
even
got
get.
some really good ideas what to do with those people.
I'm sure you.
It is. It's a horrid. I'm going to say secret because it's well known that it happens, but it's like nobody wants to talk about it
or do anything about it.
or do
Yeah.
anything about it. Yeah.
I was a victim myself
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
when
so
I was a
sorry to hear
child.
that.
I mean, it doesn't bother me now. It took me a long time to figure out why I was acting the way I did, but once I did,
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. And when they had the people testifying at the grand jury and at the trial, it wasn't just little girls that testified. There was a couple little boys. So I mean, it's
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. And it's like, and Leo Frank's testimony, all he talked about was his pencil company and how he filled out forms. That was it.
Do you
Yeah,
know why
but-
she quit? Was it because of school?
Uh-huh.
She was getting ready to go back to school.
No. She told grandmother Phagan that Leo Frank was starting to bother her.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, that says it all right there.
And that's what great grandfather, her step grandfather said. Mr. Coleman said that she talked to her mother about those things. So
Bless her heart. Yeah.
so it's really
and
sad.
You
And
mentioned
as far as me, though, I want to leave my legacy to honor her.
yeah.
And so that's why I'm giving the dollars that I have made over the years to the trust, so that
If you need help,
continue.
if
Yes,
you need
sir.
help with the trust, by the way, that's one of the things that we do with our financial firm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we do it
Well,
free
I have a
charge.
financial firm that's helping me. That's
Okay.
very heavily involved in this case. But thank you so much for your offer. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
That's
And folks,
my
this,
pleasure.
this book, which will help that, is very reasonable. I want to think it was $24 or something like that, but you can't hardly get a steak anymore for that. So
No.
and you're getting all this. That dinner is going to go away really quickly. This is going to be something you put in your library and reference back to. A couple of questions I have that popped in my head, and Paul, jump in here. My mind is just all over the place.
Yeah, mine.
My heart.
blown away. Yeah.
I'm trying not to weep myself, and I'm so sorry
That's fine.
I feel bad about that because I know this is hard to talk about. And as a dad and as
But
a
I have to.
granddad who have grandchildren, I'm telling you, all of us guys, we stand up for our kids. I have a couple of young girls that have adopted me as their grandfather. And I talked to the grandmother. We live side by side, and she said, I never worry about my girls when they're with you and your wife. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you, I would lay down my life for those girls. I love them as much as any of my other grandchildren. They call me Papa. And I said, there's nobody going to hurt these girls. We're going to keep eye on that. And I've been attacked over the years of being too protective because I put standards in place to make sure my little girls weren't with people they shouldn't be or somebody that was sketchy. And I'm going to tell you something else. If any girl, any of my granddaughters, if they say something doesn't feel right, we change. We remove them from a situation, a classroom, whatever. We are not going to put up if their gut tells them something's wrong, we're going to listen. Sometimes little girls were not listened to in the South in the past. These are deep, dark, horrible secrets that Southern people, a lot of them covered up because of the family shame. And it's horrible. It exposes that and it uncovers it, and it needs to be uncovered. It's horrible what young girls and boys have been through. But you mentioned that when you go to the grave and people leave notes and stuff, which is precious. Have you talked to young girls or had any girls reach out and say this case has touched them?
Yes, I had a lot of kids come to my house, and because in 8th grade, Georgia puts it in there. Of course, Leo Frank is, not guilty. And they put in 8th grade history. That's the next thing I got to work on. One of the things I want to work on because they use the ADL's curriculum on the case. So I have a cousin that his daughter was in 8th grade, and he wrote a letter to the teacher and said, She is not sitting through the week there that you do this. So I need to know the dates that you'll be discussing this, because she will not be there and she will be an excused absence, because this is our family you're talking about. So he did
Amen.
not let her participate. So they wrote papers and they come to my house, and even some reporters, they come. And it's like I opened their eyes, and I said, truth must be told. That's the whole purpose of me being here. It's the
Yeah.
truth. You can't deny the truth. You don't have justice if you don't have truth. And
Amen.
truth needs the justice, but I loved it. I loved it. I mean, a lot of it's in my collection up there. I saved their little. I said the only agreement that we have to make about you coming is you have to give me a copy of your paper and tell me that you make an A.
Yeah. That's great.
I get the grades back, A plus, A minus. It was
Yeah.
just the cutest thing. So I put some of those in my collection so they can have that to see that the young kids wanted to know about it as well.
Yeah.
And so it's really
Awesome.
cool. Yeah, I
And
really like that about it.
That's a blessing. My next question was, where do you see, where is the opposition, those that are supporting the pedophile? Where is there something on the horizon that you're aware of
Yeah.
that they're trying to do? Could we talk
Yes.
about that maybe for a minute?
Yeah, I think we need to. I think we need to know what happened. I'm going to go back a little bit
Okay.
because this was a major thing. And it's chapter 15. If you want to get to that chapter in your book and you can look at it, I'll let you read what the signs say. In 1994, Marietta City Cemetery decided that they were going to put historic markers on several graves. I think like 8 of them. And one of them they chose was Mary Phagan, is because she's the most visited grave at that cemetery right there. Okay, so they asked if my father, if he would agree to put, they were going to put a marker up, and my dad said no. I don't want a marker. I don't want. He was fearful at that time that it might be damage to her grave, and her grave is very beautiful, as you are well aware of.
Yeah.
So he said no, but Mayor Joe Mack Wilson called him and said, "I really think she needs a marker. How about we write it up and you approve it?" So we did, and he put it up there about in November, December of 1995. In the meantime, the rabbi's screaming about the sign that he's demanding that the marker comes down because it's offensive to the Jewish community.
Huh.
So I get a phone call and it says, "Barry, you need to go clean the graves." So I knew what that meant. I knew something happened at the grave. I had to know. She said, "You need to go to go clean the graves." Okay. Basically, she told me that something had changed and that I need to go, but that person has gone, and I will never tell the name of that person that called me. So I go to the cemetery, and it's a different marker. They took it down in the middle of the night and put a new marker near Mary Phagan's grave. And you've got
Wow.
the two. You've got the two
And
different.
that is
And
the two. So this is
yes.
the one that was there,
Yes.
and this is what it was
And they
replaced with.
changed. Yeah. And it was
Wow.
done by Philip Goldstein, the rabbi, and they pressured Dan Cox, the director of the Marietta, what is he, Parks and Recreation. They had no council meeting. They had nothing. They didn't have any reporters there. They just did it in secret. And I want to remember that. I want y'all to remember the secret opacacy is what I call it. So everything they did was in secret.
So there
Okay.
was there no law broken?
Well, I'm assuming there is, but I just
That's
don't
what
know.
I would think.
I'm sure they did.
I mean, it
I
could be
probably ought to.
considered
I would love to
theft.
sue the rabbi for $30 million since he's been
Well, it
harassing
should be
my family for
considered
30 years.
theft.
Yeah,
I
well,
would think.
okay, but it's outside the grave. Ours is inside. So, I told Daddy I said, "Daddy, aren't you going to change?" So what it does is they're bamboozling the public. The Jewish community in Marietta is bamboozling the public with that marker because it changes it at the end to say he was issued a pardon and he was not. So we go back to 82 when Alonzo Mann comes forward, the office boy, and says he saw Jim Conley with the body of Mary Phagan on the first floor and Leo Frank was innocent of the murder of Mary Phagan.
Yeah, over half the new marker talks about him. It does. It's not even talking about her. It
Right.
just they totally changed that.
Yes.
And change how it's worded to be more about the lynching and the abduction, and then the 86 pardon, that they mentioned.
Right, right. And so so when he came forward, the Jewish community got together, three different groups got together and decided they were going to ask for an exoneration of Leo Frank or get a pardon for him. And what happened was, let's see, the American Jewish Committee, the ADL, and one other group. I always forget their names because they sound so familiar. I just confuse them. But it is all this information is in the book, and
Yeah.
so they applied for a pardon. And I told Daddy that should we call? Should we let them know? And he said, "Are you ready?" And I said, I knew what that meant. I was going to call. He was
Yeah.
starting to train me to take over and take the net. I was the next person that he was handing it down, the Mary Phagan case down, like I'm doing with my nephew. Okay,
Awesome.
that's what we're doing here. And
Yeah.
I said, okay. So I saw a name, Mike Wing, and I called him, and he laughed. He laughed when I told him I was Mary Phagan. He said, "You can't be. This is a joke." I said, "No, sir, it is not a joke. My real name is Mary Phagan hyphen Kean, Kean. I'm the great." This is the one time that I said I'm the great niece and namesake of Little Mary Phagan, because he didn't ask me the question because he just thought it was just somebody playing a joke on him.
Yeah.
And I said, "No, sir, I'm not lying." I said, "We are always the last to know. Everything's always done in secret, and we would like to know if a pardon is submitted." So he called me about 6 months later and said a pardon had been submitted. Little did I know at the time, that they were doing some things. So that first pardon was in 1983. They denied Leo Frank pardon, and they got hit heavy through the newspapers and the media because they denied it. They said
Yeah.
and if you read, and I got a whole big thing chapter just on Alonzo Mann, and if you read his affidavits, and he's got tells so many stories. He verifies for them that they were hanging the Jew. He didn't hear that. He didn't even go to the trial. He just went once, and that was it. To do his testimony, and then he left. So they did that, and they were very, very disturbed that that was happening. So what I found out during COVID, though, it relates to 1986, was they decided after that pardon, they started the same group of people that did the Georgian Pardons and Paroles Board, because the governor couldn't do a pardon. They had to go through that agency instead. They started again with a young man's thesis, Clark Freshman from Harvard University, and he came up with the idea without addressing his guilt or innocence because he was lynched. And so they worked in secret for about 2 years. And then in 1986, they called us the day before they announced that they gave Leo Frank a pardon, a posthumous pardon. But it does say without addressing his guilt or innocence, which you see in the first marker, and they take
Yes.
it out. And Rabbi put, he was issued a pardon. That is bamboozling the public. And
Yeah.
he
You can
just,
see that, folks,
yeah,
in
you
the
can,
two at the very bottom. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but in the very bottom of that, you can see that they changed that. It's hard to see, I know. That's why you got to get the book. And on the next page, or page after that, we have the marker that was placed by the Phagan family.
right. And
And
that happened in 2016 because my daddy did not want to cause any controversy with the persons that were alive and didn't want any more. And he told me that I could do whatever the heck I wanted when the last person died. And when they died, my sister and I and brother, we put that together and we put up there. There are errors in that marker of mine. Okay. They've got John instead of Joshua, but he also had
Okay.
a nickname of John. So there was some confusion there. And then where it says the Knights of Mary Phagan on there, I found out that the Knights of Mary Phagan didn't exist. That it was from the New York Times 6 weeks before Leo Frank was lynched, that they came out with it and said that tensions were rising in Atlanta, and they called themselves the Knights of Mary Phagan, and that's where that came from. I did the research again, went back to the original newspapers here in Atlanta, and they called it the Vigilance Committee
okay.
because they said they were doing the law, that what the law said, and that a governor was a coward to commute the sentence, and they were carrying out the letter of the law. They felt they were doing that, and that's what they said. You know,
I
so
love
a
the
lot of people asked me if a Phagan was involved in the lynch, and the answer was no. But Mary's uncle on the Benton side was part of the group.
I love at the bottom, Little Mary Phagan is not forgotten.
Thank you.
Absolutely not forgotten.
Yeah.
And that is one of the again, one of the reasons I wanted to do this is, and I wanted to be factual, and I wanted to have I've just always I tell you when I realized when I dug into this thing and I realized how I had been manipulated by the media and everything else, and just the sickness of what happened to this, it just made me sick at my stomach. And it taught me a valuable lesson. And I always thought I was pretty, you know, pretty judicious to study things out, but you got to watch there. And those things go on today. They use
Yes,
every
they do.
tool they have to control the narrative. And you have to really dig in and really look for the truth. You have to.
Right.
And it was so obvious to me. I mean, I remember just sitting back going, he did it. He did it. It's not even a question. I mean, he did it. And
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you know, that's how a lot of people feel when they hear my side of the
I'm
story.
glad justice was
And
served.
it was a lot of people say that to me too, and they, you know, it was hard for my dad because you know he experienced the hurt more than I did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was real. He sat on his grandmother's lap. They went to family reunions, and he remembers them talking. And when they got to marry, somebody would bring her up, and then it wasn't discussed
yeah,
because grandmother Phagan would just go and break into tears, and she absolutely adored my father, and just thought he was the greatest. So that was hard. So I know
it
we got
sounded
off track and we got enough and
no, no,
got on.
no.
You know, you know, I'm like you. I've got so much up in here that I have to say. I'm actually one of the podcasters says I think you need to do about a 30-minute podcast on each of your chapters in your book, so you can go into detail and tell us everything that's happened. Because you say something to me, and I go back to 1982, and then I try to do the timeline, and it just doesn't work for me. You know, because then you start asking me, people start asking me questions, and I get totally off sync.
I know, I
So,
know.
but anyway,
And
what's happening today, and I think this is the most important thing, is that you guys need to know what's going on. But that was one of the most horrible things that they did. That was a disgrace what they did with the marker. That was it was just a devious, evil thing that they've done, and
oh,
you know they're getting away with it.
real quick before you go to that, because I want to get that. Where is the marker at? Where is it actually at?
It's outside her grave in a about 8-foot pole. And
They actually did that. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
yeah, and my dad
I
left it up
believe it's
what
still
30
there.
something years, you know, what 30 years until I changed, or what was it, 2016 is when we put it up there. So I just wanted you to be aware that some of that marker, I think I'm going to put a QR code up there and correct my error so I don't have to
No,
redo the
no,
marker.
your marker is right outside the gate. Where is this historical marker that they changed? Where's that at?
That's outside the grave.
It's outside, and your marker is out there as well.
No, our marker is right next to Mary's grave.
Right. Okay. Okay.
We put it
I
in our
want to,
plot. So the
and
nice
yet,
thing about this too is that when I was working at the State Department, I ended up being the program specialist for the entire state of Georgia in the area of special education for students with visual impairments and deaf, blind, and cane travel. So I got a phone call from a lady that said that there was 13 plots, 13 or 15 plots, catty corner for Mary's grave, and she wanted to offer it to the Phagan family. And so we purchased it. So I'll be buried across with Mary.
oh, amazing.
Awesome.
That's what threw me off because it's been that long since I've been. I don't remember what year I went, but I don't remember the marker. So we will
Yeah,
definitely
they were
be looking at
they,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I did
So
not
that
know
happened.
that. 2016. Okay. It
Okay,
must
yeah.
have been, I don't remember. I want to think it was around 2010, 2012, something like
No,
that I went down. So amazing. This is
mm,
absolutely amazing. So, yeah. So let's talk about what the enemy's up to, what they're trying to do these days,
okay,
and
sure.
how can we
So
help?
2019, I told you the Conviction Integrity Unit, they announced that. And
Yes.
so I asked for records, for open records requests from Fulton County. They deny that there's any records.
Huh.
Okay. You can't tell me they've been planning this for 3 years or 4 years. In 2015, they started mentioning it about getting a new trial, and in 2018. And I talked to Dale Swartz, who is one of the petitioners with the first pardon. And I called him and I said, well, I heard y'all wanted to do a new trial. And we're very respectful to each other. I want you to know that. I mean,
Yeah.
just because we're difference of opinion doesn't mean we can't have a conversation that's civil. And I
Right.
said, I heard that you were thinking about doing a trial. Is that correct? He said, well, yes, Mary, we're working on it. And that's what I think is at the rabbi's collection that I want to go. And my sister and I are going to go this next year. Unfortunately, I had a terrible, terrible fall on April 27th, and I'm still recovering from it.
Bless your heart.
And it was awful. So I still have a lot. My gums and stuff are still sore, but I'm doing much, much better. But I
Bless
just
your heart.
couldn't do anything. And then my husband's got Parkinson's from Agent Orange,
Mm.
Vietnam, and I'm the caregiver. And I couldn't caregive for him, and I needed help. So the VA came through and has given us lots of support. So now I'm back to doing caregiving a little bit and stuff like that. So don't be
Amen.
surprised if he comes in. He's in a wheelchair. He always interrupts my podcast. Everybody said, "Here he comes," and the dogs, because they're still having a fit. That I can hear him scratching on the door, wanting to get in. But anyway, so, that's really something that they do that. But I just wanted y'all to know what they had. So they said no records. So I thought, okay. Then Paul Howard got ousted by Fonnie Willis. I'm sure you know about Fonnie Willis.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So she gets it, and Governor Barnes, John Lewis, the rabbi, the ADL, and I think I want to say some kind of historical society. Oh, his temple, the rabbi's temple. They ask Fonnie Willis to exonerate Leo Frank, to continue from what Paul Howard said, because they established it and everything. But then the RICO case came with Trump. So she's been very busy involved in that.
Yes.
Now she's got her own.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So then in 2020, one of my team's members said, you need to write the state of Georgia and ask for the open records for the Leo Frank case for the first pardon. And he said, because, it's been a long time. It's been 30, 40 years and all this. I get it back. Oh, what page is it on there? It says, it's in my newsletter in the back. It says
Okay.
denied. They denied me records and told me it was a state secret.
What?
State secret.
Yes, sir.
That's crazy.
It's a state secret. Mhm.
Wow.
So I couldn't get any records there. And then, Fonnie Willis continues, and we just, things happen. The biggest thing that happened for me and my family was in 2021 with Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL, and he got nailed. And it's been going on for the last 4 or 5 years because Elon Musk bought Twitter and changed it to X. And every year on the anniversary of Leo Frank's lynching, he writes the same thing about him being, because of anti-Semitism. And this is how they make their money. This is how they get money because of this case. And he got community noted.
Oh.
So that's never happened before because, he just says it and everybody knows, he literally had to shut down the comments. And we figured out like 98%, it's on my website somewhere, 94% were against the ADL based on that. And so it has continued for the 22nd, the 23rd. He did it again in 24. He did it again in 25. And it's still he still writes the same thing every year, even though it got community noted. And I mean, one of them had like 24 million views, and they were all mostly against the ADL and Jonathan Greenblatt. And it should be,
Yeah. Absolutely.
because they're liars. They're making money off little girls' rape and murder. They're promoting, in my opinion, pedophilia. If they're supporting Leo Frank, because that's what he was convicted of, that's what got the conviction, was his sexual perversion, not because he was Jewish, and they just can't admit it. But they are supporting that. Yeah. Now look at Jeffrey Epstein. Look at all these girls that were being trafficked. Unfortunately, are now committing suicide.
Yes. It's horrible.
It's horrible.
We had a question. Do you have an email list? You talked about the newsletter. Is there an email list that you can join on the website?
No, but I need to do that. I'll ask my person that runs it to do it. Email
Okay,
list.
because I think that people would love to keep up if there's something that you want to send
We can
out.
put it on the email. Okay. Yeah, and I'm on Facebook. I'm on Facebook too.
You are on Facebook. Make sure, folks. What under your name, Mary Phagan Kean, is that how they find you on Facebook or not?
I don't think so.
We can announce it later. We can look it up. But there are people here. They're Barry. I know all these guys. They dig in. They will keep up with stuff, and they're very good about sending me stuff. And because the information flow is sometimes, like you said, that you don't know something's being released out there, and you don't know what people have done. It's got to help keep things accountable, and we want to keep up with what you're doing and pray for you and support you, and dig into this and study this stuff so we'll know it, and we can have talking points for ourselves to share with people who have no clue about this case.
Right.
There are people just don't know. And
This really was a first pedophile case in this country,
that's
when you think
amazing.
about it.
Amazing.
And and like I said, and then it came another mini war between the states, as my dad always called it. But what I wanted to let you know that there's a musical out called Parade at 120 Wards, and it still continues to this day. And it came here in April at the Fox Theater, and Fonnie Willis announced that the Leo Frank case was being reviewed for exoneration of the murder of my great aunt, Little Mary Phagan. So that's what's happening as of today.
My gosh, that's so horrible. So
It is
horrible.
It is horrible. And guess what? She went to the Senate committee. They've been trying to subpoena Fonnie Willis. She went in December, and they said, guess who her attorney is? Who's her attorney?
Some old fella.
Yeah, Roy Barnes. Roy Barnes.
Oh,
is he really?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
I didn't
Is
know
that
that.
not a conflict of interest? So he's her lawyer, and that guarantees that it's going to happen in my book.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
And I think the state of Georgia should be ashamed. So my last newsletter says that. Let me show you. Go to Appendix 2. Oh, I just found newsletter number 7 says it was denied, and I have a copy of the letter from the State Board of Pardons and Paroles right on the. So these newsletters are very important. These are the last things that happened that I just felt like was more important to keep these newsletters in, and they're all available on my website at no cost. Everybody thinks I should charge for it, and I go, oh no, I'm not charging for it. No way, no way.
Hey, thank you for coming in from Germany. We have a visitor from Germany coming in
All right.
on YouTube. Thanks for stopping by. We're talking about this precious young lady right here, Little Mary Phagan, and really about her and how they're trying to paint this up as anything other than she is the victim. She is the victim, and we will keep preaching that. And so Mary Phagan Kean is our guest. And we are honored to have her. Thank you again so much for being here with all this going on. I fell myself. I didn't get hurt like that, but I fell myself a little over a month ago. And let me tell you, falling is not good.
No, I fell flat on my face, and I was with my sister, and we went to Taste of Marietta, and she said, we can't find a parking place at the square, so do you mind walking? So I had no sandals on. I didn't have flip-flops on. I didn't have any open-toed shoes on. I had the good walking shoes. But what Marietta City did, I don't know if it's Marietta City, but what the sidewalk is there, going to there, because we had to walk a mile, they had concrete, and then they would have brick, and then they would have concrete and brick. Well, the brick sank. And I tripped over the brick, and I just landed flat on my nose, broke my nose. I had to glue my nose together. Wow. I mean, it was awful. And then, it looked like somebody beat me up really bad. My knees, I had to go get they scratched my glasses and everything. And my sister, thankfully, is a retired nurse. And so I didn't cry when I fell. And then all of a sudden I started crying. She goes, what? I said, oh God, did I lose my 2 front teeth? Because my mouth is full of dental implants. I have the worst teeth in the world. And she's got the most perfect teeth in the world, And I just have all these issues I've had since I was 2 years old. And I remember standing up because I said the gums overgrew my teeth. It was just something. I said, I've always had trouble. And she said, spit it out. And so as all blood came out, she goes, no teeth. I said, okay, I'm fine. But my mouth is still very, very sore here up in the gum area. And they said it's going to take a while. And it's been almost 8-9 months. It's terrible, I'm telling you.
Merry Christmas to you, brother. And God bless you for coming in from Germany and study this case.
Yes.
Watchman says, Watchman for you, this is a great point as they are working on even speaking about this illegal as we speak. That's a great point. The hate speech, and they're taking and trying to make laws where you can't speak about something, or you're full of hate, you're anti-Semitic, and it's gotten to the point you can't say it. That's a great point. There is a lot of work being done in that area, so that, yeah, if you even bring it up, you could be charged with a crime.
Right.
That's where this is headed. I'm not saying it's there now, but there are cases around the country where they definitely are, and around the world, especially, they're making where you can't speak against certain things, or that's a freedom of speech. I mean, you can disagree, you can even say, you think whatever you want to think about this case, but that's the freedoms we have, and to do anything
Right.
else is
Right.
horrible.
And I think I want your people to know too, and I get this question a lot. Has any organization or indie people come after me? And the answer is no, they have not. I'm calling them out because
Yeah,
they made me angry. And
sure.
I said the truth and justice must be upheld. And he does not deserve to be exonerated because they only tell part of it. They just tell his story. They never tell her story.
Yeah, it's an afterthought in places that I have seen this story. It's really an afterthought. The way they
And they don't
present
do
it.
the research either, guys.
No, yeah,
You've got to go back to the 1930s, and they can. There's no excuse now because it's on my website, and
There you go.
that's my legacy. That I am leaving that for them and for people to know that even if it does happen, I just say when it's going to happen. I don't know when they're going to do it and spring it on us, but I'm going to cry. I'm going to be upset, but you know what? I'm going to be all right because I know my website's out there and they can't take me down on it. They can't,
amen.
and I've got too many websites and too many people working with me to
Right.
keep it
There
out
you
there.
go.
But we have been censored. I will tell you that we have been censored on like YouTube and things like that. But this censorship for hate speech. I think the ADL has become that now. And, the Fagan family did have a good relationship with the ADL before Alonzo Mann came out. In fact,
Yeah,
during that whole time, they interviewed us and where did we stand and where this, and it's in the book. It's in the book that they did that with my dad and I and stuff. They wanted to know where we were coming from and all that. And I will tell you this, and this is a lovely story about my father. Because they're checking to see if we're anti-Semitic is what they were doing. And I wasn't raised anti-Semitic, and I have a beautiful story about my father. Air Force, I told you Air Force, 1952, a plane crash. All members died.
Mm.
And one of them was his friend, Robert Jacobs, who he called Bob Jacobs. He was Jewish. And, they send the color guard to the homes of the families of the people that have died. And they were just going to send a nobody that didn't know him, but he was Jewish. So this color guard was going to go and take his body home. My dad goes to the commanding officer and says, I'm not Jewish. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Bob was my friend, and I would like to be the color guard to take his body home because I think that family deserves to have a friend that knew him and loved him like they did.
yeah,
And they approved my dad, and I've got the letters and I've got the crasher. And so he called her Mom Jacobs and Dad Jacobs, and guess who called him Grandmother and Grandfather Jacobs?
yeah,
Us as kids, But that was when he was, like I said, he wasn't even married to my mother at the time, and it's something that he felt was the right thing to do, and he got commended very highly for that. Now I will tell you too, my father was the one that experienced racism in the service, and it was by the black people. A lot of people were black. They said you better stay away from Fagan because he's from Atlanta, Georgia.
mm,
A stereotype of the South,
yeah,
and
yeah. Unfortunately, those things still go on.
yes, they do. They do.
People who don't know you try to label you as things, and to this point, if you even question something, I mean, you somehow have become a person of hate. It's okay when there's an injustice or there's something wrong. I don't look at the race. I look at the action. What have they done?
Right.
When you stand before if you're a potential juror in a case and they ask you, can you give a fair and impartial, based on the evidence that's presented, can you give a fair and impartial, guilty or not guilty or whatever? And I've been there as a juror and said, as a young person, I said, absolutely. My parents didn't raise me to be racist
Mine
towards
didn't either.
anybody. My mother told me to love everybody. My Christian upbringing tells me to love everybody. I don't look at things in those terms. In fact, if anything, I've tried to help people and stand up for people I thought were having injustices committed against them.
Right.
I never ran in circles where people did those things. I have left places where I thought things that were being said were uncalled for, and I left that I was
Right.
invited to over the years. I don't stand with that. It
Don't either.
angers me when people question me about my commitment to to being right or Christian just because I question things, and I feel like that's kind of where we're at with
Right.
this, and
Right.
you more so because of this case. I can't even imagine, how that has, how they come at you like that.
Well, they haven't, and I'm I always expect it, but I did have an incident one time when I was teaching that I was called in by the superintendent. That was the one time that I
Okay.
did get that. That did happen, and it was something that I said in the newspaper account, and they called and said, "How could you have somebody on your staff like that?" It was about the lynching of Leo Frank. Because
Yeah.
I don't know what I said, but I know it wasn't the correct thing, because I very rarely give interviews. That's why I can't believe I'm doing all these podcasts, because I had an interview with CNN many years ago, and it was not a pleasant one, and they edited it so bad. And when they left, the guy told me that my father and grandfather were lying to me about this case.
Oh my gosh.
And I've never
Wow.
forgotten that. I will
Sounds like
never do another
CNN.
interview again. And
Bless your
I
heart.
didn't do it until like was it 2008 when the People versus Leo Frank came out, and they asked me to, and I told them no, I'm not doing it. And then Bill
Yeah.
Kinney of the Marietta Daily Journal convinced me. He said, "You need this for future generations to see. They need to hear your side of the story. You need to start speaking out." And
Yeah.
he knew a lot about the case. So, there's been movies, there's more books, there's musicals, there's all kinds of things out there about this case. I just want you all to know that most of them are all fictionalized accounts of the Mary Phagan case.
Well, we had a question come in. I think you covered this, but I don't remember the number. Watchman wants to know: wasn't there Jewish people in the jury when Leo was convicted? Was there Jewish
No,
people? There
no,
wasn't any Jewish people on the jury. Okay.
just on the grand jury to indict him.
Watchman says he's been sharing flyers about Leo Frank for over 5 years. Getting the truth out there of these things. So amazing. Thank you so much for being
Oh,
with
you're
us
welcome.
tonight.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I hope, and by the way, we don't edit anything. If I make a mistake, they see it. So this in its entirety will be out there. It's going live now, and as it closes, it's on those platforms that keep them out there. And we will re-air this on our podcast several times. And I hope that we've been good enough guests that you'll come back and
Oh,
be
I
with
would
us
love to
again.
come back. And there's still another half of the story that we have to tell that we haven't even gotten to yet.
Exactly.
You know what I
So
mean?
Right.
I've been telling
That's why I
people
said.
it's
That's
the
why that one
first.
pastor said, "Why don't you come every? Just do one chapter every. Things
No,
like
that's
that."
a
And I
good
said, "Have to
point.
do a
That is a good
documentary too."
idea.
And I'm going to
And
try to have this read by the time you come back on. And
Great.
I'm sure questions will come out. And maybe I won't stick my foot in my mouth so many times because I'm going by, again, things I've been told, things I've heard. And I researched it, but it's been many years ago. And things do run together. And I want to be factual. And we're going to, as I said, we're going to go to the cemetery and we're going to honor that, lay some flowers. And it's just touches my heart. I can't explain it. This is a beautiful cover, by the way.
Yeah,
Let
it
me
is.
get it over here. This is very
That
honored.
picture is taken from the grave. I had it put in porcelain on the grave so that the other one disappeared, and I had it redone. And that's the picture. But that was the picture right before she was murdered that was taken. And
Really?
yes, because I have the original here.
Do you know where it was taken out? What the story is behind the picture?
No, I just I know. I want to say that. Well, no, that was what Aunt Annabelle. What did she tell me about this picture? Uh, actually, which the Atlanta Historical Society has the original picture. I donated that to them many, many years ago, but they were supposed to. It had some tears and stuff in it, and some tape and stuff, and they were supposed to refurbish it, but I don't think they did.
Okay. Do you know
So
if was it in a studio or was it at home
yeah,
or?
I think it was a studio, because the original picture is it's like on a cardboard thing, not like like we have today,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. But I was gonna try to move my thing, but I don't know if you could see the picture. No, you just see me. Oh, I might go over there because I think you guys ought to see it. It's really, I have a big picture of her. Oh, I don't know how to turn my camera around to see it. Oh, maybe if I go this way. Ah, there we go.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay. And then this over here next to her picture was a memorial thing that they wanted to do on her grave. And they were asking for donations, and the donation was 10 cents.
Oh, wow. 10 cents.
10 cents.
Amazing.
And the Sons of Confederate Veterans here in Georgia, they had me at their national convention speak because they knew things were happening with the case. They are going to be in, oh, that's the other thing I got to write in there. Some of the Confederate veterans, I forgot about that. They are doing the grave cleaning for me after I pass because I do it now. And they said they have, because the Confederate cemetery is right next door, the Marietta City Cemetery, and they have all the chemicals and they know how to clean granite.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm giving them money to keep it up for the next couple hundred years and stuff, so that my nephew doesn't
Awesome.
have to worry about that. Isn't that sweet of them to do that for me?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
They're
I
a great
felt like
group
I
of
needed,
guys.
I need to do that, so I got to add them. I'm doing my trust right now. I thought, oh, well, God, I better add them to the trust.
Well,
I
thank
had
you.
a CD and it didn't make any money, so I'm putting it in a trust.
Well, thank you so much. Any closing thoughts? We're about at the end of the 2 hours. We thank you for your time.
Yes.
I'm moved. I don't even know how, Paul. I don't even know how to speak
agree.
about it. It just touches my heart. But closing thoughts you would like to share with our listeners, if you have any.
Just thank you from the bottom of my heart for caring about little Mary Phagan and listening to me tell the truth about her, and to know that she was really horribly raped and murdered by Leo Frank. And that's the truth that needs to get out, even though we know that there are forces that are working against it. The Phagan family has gone through 112 years of turmoil, and now I'm trying to lessen the turmoil for my nephew because he's
Amen.
what's taking over. So he's going to
Bless
be in charge of the trust. So I'm sorry, I'm crying.
No. Prayers for
You're
you.
fine.
I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
Paul, anything you'd like to
Sorry.
add in before we?
I just I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on the show, and everybody needs to know about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's ongoing. One thing, I hate bullies.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
stand the bully, and
And yeah, I agree. And I really deep down thought about it. I don't know, I still may do it, but I think every 435 people in Congress need to have a copy of my book to see when the next time they look at maybe helping it fund Israel or fund the ADL comes in. This is where it starts. This is where it started.
Yeah.
You've got to realize, that they are supporting a rapist, pedophile, and child trafficking that continues. And he was the first pedophile. I want to write a letter to them saying, are you aware that he's the first convicted pedophile in this country?
Well, I don't see why we have to bring race into it. He was a terrible person. He was
Right.
evil. It doesn't matter if he was Caucasian, Jewish, Indian. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. This is the story. This is the person. She deserves to remember her story, to remember who she was.
Yeah.
And she represents all the little boys and girls that have been done wrong. She
Especially over the past 4
they need
years.
to answer for that. There has to be justice
For
for
the
little
children.
Mary Phagan. There has to be justice for all these others that have been done wrong. And
Because Mary got justice, but how
Yeah.
many haven't gotten justice?
exactly, it's a national sin, and
Yeah,
it has to be answered for, and a universal sin. I mean, it's not just here, but certainly our country has certainly it's a dirty, dark
Secret.
thing in our secret. I mean, and it goes to the highest levels of our government. We see that with what's going on right now. So sad. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
night.
I'm sorry if I was so confused and stuff. There's just so much in
No.
my head. And
You have all this information, and I want to tap into that. And folks, go to the website. We're going to share it out, so you'll have that.
Okay.
And buy the book. Buy the book. Buy it.
Thank you. And I'll
Do
see you
it.
again soon, okay?
Yes, you got it.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
folks.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Okay, all right.
and we will go out with some music. And Paul, amazing.
Yes, that's a very touching story, and man,
it just touches your heart. So
it gets my heart beating fast.
Thank you, folks. There's a lot of information. I'm sorry to get to everything in the chat. We just wanted to give her as much time as possible, and we're just tapping parts of it. There's so much that I learned in this that I did not know. This book is really well done. Again, and here is that. By the way, here is the flyer for the thing for the movie.
Been handing out
the movie. No.
Oh.
For the movie Jack Lemmon. That
my bad.
And a lot of people saw that movie, which obviously has some inaccuracies in it. But the part about this, I didn't know they did that. But when we go to the grave, we're going to highlight that for sure.
I wonder if you could send us a picture of the flyer.
Yeah,
that you're handing out.
Watchman. What are?
Yeah, that would be.
And
awesome.
here is the state marker about the other. I heard so much about that. I've never seen that marker, to be honest with you. But there's footnotes. There's a lot of information in here about this. So, but yeah. Thank you so much. We need to get off of here. We've been it's been a great show. We're going to re-air this, and we got to find out why Instagram kicked us out. They don't store the videos anyway, but I hate it. We did have some in there watching, but we'll make sure they know that you can go find it at other places. But that is kind of weird that happened. I have not seen that happen.
I don't think it was a coincidence.
I don't either. I think we got booted. I think that they didn't like. That has not happened since the early days of the podcast that we've ever been booted off. And it was true. Early in the podcast, we would get kicked off 1 hour. That has not happened in over a year. I went almost 3 hours last night. No problems.
We need to get used to it.
It's not a coincidence.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't be the last time either because
and we'll probably
doing some things.
I'll be watching the next day or two to see if we get censored on a couple of the others, to be honest. Yeah. Thank God for Rumble.
Yeah.
And some of the others. Thank y'all for watching. Share it out. Listen, not for us, for her.
Little Mary Phagan.
For her.
Yes.
Don't I'm not looking for publicity off of this. This story has always touched my heart, and that's why I wanted to do this. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. God bless you. We'll go out with some music, and Paul?
Always keep ascending.
Yes, and let us not forget, the Wolf Nation is sponsored by the coffees, the Wolf Nation coffees, and also the Ascending Group. Keep ascending, and
always
we're going to be having commercials on that. We have some out there already from Brian, and we're going to be putting up some more.
Some for my grandson too.
And that's right,
Gabe does a really good job.
Did a great job. I love that. That got a lot of attention. People like that.
He's a smart young guy.
Oh, you're welcome, Sigma. Yeah, well, there can be those forces wherever you are that kick you. But you're very welcome for the episode. All of our thanks goes to Mary Phagan Kean, and we will have her back.
Love her heart.
Yeah. I like that she shares her heart, and it came through.
Yeah.
And it made me feel bad in one way, but I think people need to see that this affected this family all this time.
106 years?
12. I think 12.
12 years.
This is a trauma upon her family.
Yeah.
And God bless her. God bless her.
Yeah.
All right. This is the one, I think.
That's it.
We are out. Take care. God bless. Definitely see you in the morning for the morning show. And tomorrow is also Southern Claws and Paul, excuse me.
Southern Claws and Paul.
The pet show at 6 p.m. with the cat lady, Miss Jenneth. We will be talking. We got horses this week. We're going to show horses and names of horses and pictures of people on the horses. First time for our show. And we ask you to watch that and some other things. I think tomorrow is, I think I put it down the schedule, but I think tomorrow is the music show, the part 3. Let's see, I think it's part 3, Def Leppard, Hysteria. We're going to be talking about Hysteria. Paul, are you familiar with Def Leppard Hysteria?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe Paul can join us. We'll see. And we're going to be going to Mary Phagan's grave, also to the Corpsewood Manor location. And I'll talk to Mary today We're going to record the interview. Amy, I said Mary. Amy,
yeah.
sorry, Amy Petula.
Yep.
We're going to she's going to interview with us on January 5th.
Sweet.
And we're going to record it, I believe. I'm not sure. Maybe it'll be live, maybe it'll be recorded, but we're going to make sure we get that about her book. And I'm reading it now as well. And we've got other interviews coming.
Yeah, we do.
A blessing. As Paul says, we're just getting started.
That's right. We ain't even scratched the surface.
Wolf
yet.
Nation, baby.
That's it.
We are out. Take care. Salute.
Peace.
Fist bump to my co-host
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Thanks, Dean, for popping in there too. We had two great shows tonight on the sports and racing. He stopped in. We appreciate
What
him
a
very
great guy.
much. Oh yeah, absolutely. And we are out.
Out on the airwaves, mud soaked and loud. Cornbread man talking biscuit boy proud. Static crackles like a rattlesnake's tail. Voices rolling like a freight train wheel. Cornbread man, biscuit boy, talking live love and southern joy. Cornbread man, biscuit boy, raise your glass, make some noise. Gravy drips in the southern drawl. Stories thick like the cypress tall. Radio rebels riding wild and free, shouting truths like a storm at sea.